All right, welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast, the show for business owners who want more than transactions. They want transformation. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, and my mission is to empower business owners to design a life they don't regret without sacrificing health, relationships, or spirituality. We do that through the Level Up and Live Mastermind, built on 5 pillars: accountability, clarity, support, guidance, and community. Today's guest has a powerful story of grit, transition, and building legacy. Jeremy Laurence is the owner of Air Woodlands AC Heating, a trusted local HVAC company serving the Woodlands and surrounding areas. Jeremy took over from founder Sam, who started Air Woodlands in the 1990s with the belief that treating customers with honesty, fairness, and relentless service would build something lasting. Jeremy, a husband and father of 3, partnered with Sam for over 7 years before stepping into the lead of the business in 2018. Today, he carries forward the same value of integrity, family, and community while leading a 24/7 service business in an industry known for pressure and high stakes. In this episode, we'll dig into Jeremy's journey, the challenges of leading a family-owned service company, and how he balances family, faith, and leadership in the grind of entrepreneurship. Jeremy, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, Sean, for having me.
So let's start at the beginning, man. How did you first get connected with Sam, and what made you take the leap into ownership?
So to get back from the beginning, my ex-father-in-law was in the AC heating business. And he's the one that introduced me to the trade. I've always been around construction. My dad owned my dad worked for construction, had a little side business, but I always enjoyed the construction aspect of business. And so my ex-father-in-law gave me an ultimatum. Hey, do you want to work for me? And this is what I could pay you. And I said, well, I like what I'm doing. He said, well, why don't you come do this? So I worked for him, but our moral compass did not line up. And I really seen that after years of working for him. And so then I met Sam later on in the years after I already had some experience.
What was it like stepping into an already established business that Sam had built from the ground up? What was that experience like?
So Sam was a very easygoing, where I'm at today, Sean. I mean, I want to be more of a business owner, leader, and all that stuff. Sam was more of a hobbyer. He did this to pay his bills. He had a passion for yoga. He would literally go to India and practice yoga for weeks on end there at the end.
Wow.
And so that was just his thing. And so the business was just, feeding, what he enjoyed life. And so then when I took it over, I was handed 6 shoeboxes of here's Air Woodlands, in a phone number. So, and it was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for. And so me and my wife have literally had to restructure and try things and fail at things and try this and over the last, 8 years.
Entrepreneurship, you just spelled out the definition. Try this, trial and error, mistakes, failure, up and down. It's not always rainbows and sunshines, is it?
That's 100% correct.
So what values did you see in Sam that really shaped how you now lead Air Woodlands?
So Sam was always he had integrity. He always said, if he said he was going to do something, he would do it. And he was a very likable person. He would, you could call him in the afternoons and ask him a question, or, he would try to go there. He understood the value of people are hot, their air conditioners are out. You need to be there to service them. Even if this wasn't his passion in life, he understood the simple values that people need air conditioning and heating.
So running a service-based business, and just a little bit of history about myself, I've always had service-based businesses, and I used to think that it was a 24/7 availability, text message, email, you name it, I got you. And this was early stages in my entrepreneur career. And I know some companies, and I think yours, that's one of the things that you offer is a 24/7 availability, correct?
Yes, sir, we do.
Now, I'm curious on how you manage the demands without burning out yourself or your team.
So, Sean, before it was, for the first couple of years, it was really me, my wife, one other technician, and a helper usually. And the business wasn't, we might get 2 or 3 calls a weekend, for emergency service and all that stuff. And it was, we had to go. They called, we have to go. But it was also chasing that dollar, because I was a technician that got into leadership as a business owner I bought the business, but I was no owner. And so I always thought I had to go work. I had to go to work. I had to, leave my family. I had to go do this. A little funny story about mine and my wife's first date. Actually, a job came in, and I wrote a note and put in her car and said, "Sorry, I can't make our first date, but I have to go do this AC job, and I'll make it up to you." That was our first date, Sean. And so, she knew me prior to that, but that was actually our first real date that we were going to go on.
Wow.
And so, that was always my thing. And I always saw my dad as a hustler. He would work his, 9 to 5, but it was actually 6 to 3:30. Then he would get off and go work in the afternoons. And I just thought that's what you did. You worked. You provided for your family. You go to work. You do all that stuff. So then transitioning to the 24-hour thing, where we are now, it's is this an emergency? Is there, can it wait till Monday? Do you want us out today, or can you wait till tomorrow? We've learned that our emergency is sometimes not somebody else's emergency, or their emergency is not also our emergency.
Yeah. Well, when I hear 24/7 availability, I love that because when an HVAC goes down, AC, especially we're recording this in Texas, it gets upwards of 100+ degrees. So if they've got a kid or a baby, it's like you said, if this is an emergency, then having that availability and knowing that, I know that's pretty important to have, especially with HVAC company. And plumbing and some of the other different industries. But it also comes with a high price tag as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm curious because a lot of our listeners and viewers, they are business owners and emerging leaders. What has been the toughest season since stepping into ownership, and how do you navigate it?
So, Sean, to be honest, this is the toughest year and season we've had. This year, industry-wise, is about HVAC overall is about 30% down.
Really?
We don't know why. Economy, what? Our salesmen, supply houses, their numbers are down. If our numbers are down, their numbers are down, and just the domino effect. So that was one thing. So we're and it's a roller coaster. One week we're killing it, and then next week we're super lows. But we are a cash positive company. One thing that I was always taught is debt is bad. Pay your bills on time. Always pay your vendors and always pay your employees. You are second best. And me and my wife has always done that from the get-go. And so we have a prudent reserve in our company where if something happens, we could last. A lot of companies failed during COVID, and we were one of the ones that stuck it out because we could pay our employees and we could keep them going. Yes, our business was still going, but we still had stuff on the back end that we could take care of them if we needed to. But the big changes I made it, I've joined the leadership thing on Friday, and I realized I wasn't a business owner. I was just going to work every day and doing what I thought was right. Sean, you made a agreement with me that before next Friday I go on vacation, I have some SOPs and I have some job roles for some of my employees. I've got some stuff typed up. I have a friend of mine meet me today who's a better typer and speller than me. We're going to hammer out the job roles. We've got some SOPs, I've got started. This is what a business owner should be doing. I feel now that's where I'm at. And so this is fearful for me. I mean, this is the unknown territory. I could go to work and make money, but how can I lead my team right and let them know that I'm a leader in the organization?
Man, I love that you shared that, and I appreciate your vulnerability because that's where it all starts. And you've done that since day one of meeting you in our short period of time of coming into the Level Up and Live Mastermind group. And you've put the pride and ego to the side, and you've gotten vulnerable, you've gotten curious, you've asked questions, and you've reached out. I mean, you've embodied everything that we're all about. And I think that's why you've seen this. You're going to see this slowly but surely progress and exponential growth in your leadership. Because everything rises and falls on leadership. And we as leaders should be working on our business and not in it. There's times to work in it, to lead by example, but at the same time, running that congruent in an alignment with, hey, in order for me to show up the best leader that I possibly can for my team, for my spouse, for my kids, for my community, I need to be able to look inward and ask myself the questions and put some of these systems and processes in place so I can replace myself from these different activities and tasks and responsibilities that deplete your energy, essentially. you know, and all while facing a tough season, because we all go through tough seasons. I don't care what industry you're in. I've met a lot of business owners, Jeremy, and landscaping, insurance, you name it, general contracting. Everybody is experiencing a tough season with inflation, the economy, everything that's going on right now. But it's how we react in these moments. It's easy just to throw in the flag. Like you said, maintaining debt-free, positive cash flow. How are you reacting as a leader? How is your health? How is your stress management? All these things come into fruition. I've been doing this for 10 years now and gotten punched in the mouth quite a bit of times. And it really just comes back to, the dollar always stops with the leader, but also everything else. And if you are not healthy, and I'm just talking my old version of myself right now, if I'm not healthy in my mind, my body, and my soul, then everything is just that much more harder versus somebody that's over here like you doing the work behind the scenes, asking the questions, getting curious, plugging yourself in, learning from like-minded individuals. It's not if, but when you have that well-oiled machine and the economy picks back up, your business picks back up because you get in unity with your team, leadership rises, and everything around you just continues to level up. Do you have any thoughts on that, or is that being received? What are your thoughts?
Exactly where I am. And I've got a guy in the organization that we're trying to put into a leleadership role and give him some, clear definitions. This is what I expect of you. That was my thing. I shared this, last week. I would hire people and say, okay, you're a technician, you're an office girl, you're this, you're that, you're whatever. But my expectations of you in them roles are not what you expected them roles to be, And so that's why I had to put these systems and processes. Like, I expect you to do these things as an AC technician. I expect you to do these things as the office girl. I expect you. And, but then when they come to work and they don't live up to my expectations, I get mad at them or angry or whatever. And that's not the person I want to be. So now I have, now going the system in place, I think it's going to make a lot of things smoother because they know what Jeremy expects now.
I want everybody to rewind that, all of our viewers and listeners. There are expectations, there are standards that you're upholding with the company, but we have these friction points as business owners and entrepreneurs where, like, the technician, the sales rep, whoever is not meeting the demands of these expectations. Well, what does that do to us as business owners and entrepreneurs? It pulls our peace. It creates friction. It creates frustration. And I looked at that for 35 years of my life, and even in 8 years in business. And I just learned this in the last 2 to 3 years, where every friction point, every frustration, every anger, all these things are going to happen, these emotions, these feelings. But what I have learned being a student of the game is to be aware of those emotions and feelings, because what I'm experiencing when that happens, even at Level Up and Live or my insurance company, what happens is I always look at the man in the mirror. Well, maybe I didn't clearly define what my standards were. Maybe I didn't clearly define my expectations. Because at the end of the day, if this person's giving 110% effort and they're still tripping and falling and they're leaning in, they're asking questions, then the only person to blame, and I take full responsibility for that, is an owner. And what I have found is that business owners and entrepreneurs just don't take that full responsibility, and they don't lead by example. And that was me for the longest time. So now every chance I get, if I meet a business owner, Jeremy, I'm like, hey, it's Sean Meyers. Nice to meet you. And within a matter of 3 or 4 minutes, man, they feel like they just got a ton of bricks just thrown at them because I like to hit them hard. And I'll meet people where they are, but I've learned that in the Level Up and Live Mastermind group. I'll share a quick little story. I'll never forget this. Jeremy Royster, right? Inferno Customs here in Willis, Texas. I met him for the first time, Jeremy. He came in, leaned in, and he told me a story about what was going on with one of his team members and employees. And I was listening, I was observing, I was meeting him where he was. Immediately, my strong personality came out, and I was like, one of the things that he had said, I had said, you can't share that. You can't say that to your employees. And I reflected back on that after the mastermind group, and I was like, how was that received? I actually called him. I was like, I want to apologize on how strong I came off on you, because I know that was probably like a ton of bricks. I just met this guy, dude. if he would have known me for 6 months, he'd be like, oh, that's Sean coming for me for love. But I'm so passionate about that. And I want all of our business owners and entrepreneurs to understand that everything rises and falls on leadership. It's not the employee's fault. It's not the weather's fault. It's not the economy's fault. It's not the president's fault. It's us. We're the problem. And if you can get that out of the way, then, okay, we can do something about it, right? We can start working on what we need to do. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly that. I've realized, that if I can't admit I'm wrong, how do my team admit that they're wrong? I was talking to my secretary yesterday, and she was doing something. We have a system for our board for numbers and stuff, and she was like, she didn't want to admit she was wrong. And I was like, Dakota, it's okay to say you're wrong. I mean, we all make mistakes, and just that you could see the relief in her face, like, oh, he's not mad. I mean, we fixed it, and I sat down in another office chair with her and, another employee. And we went through the numbers and here's this. And it all came out. And then after she was like, hey, thanks for taking that time for me. I mean, those little things right there are what I'm learning as a leader to be there for my employees. Instead of saying, here, go do it, go figure it out,
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that. And because you're creating that trust, you're creating that safe place because I've been doing this for 10 plus years and we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to fail. And us as leaders being able to communicate that like just you did is so powerful, being able to, hey, this is a safe place. Like we're going to make mistakes. We're human beings. Let's just own it. Let's own up to it and let's correct course.
How do we grow from it?
And man, I love that you share that because I think that's so powerful and it's very uncommon. It's very rare
Yes, sir.
these days. And I'll be the first to admit, like that was me for several years. And I know a lot of my team members, we joke about it now, but a lot of them have PTSD from 100%, brother. So I've had to work on that, dude, for 3+ years now. But here's the thing. It's caught, not taught. They've seen the transformation in their leader. And that's what's happening to you, my friend. They see the transformation. You can say one thing, but you actually doing it, taking action, taking the necessary steps to find that alignment, creating that safe place. We're in this together. Having them buy into the mission and vision. Man, it's a beautiful place. And our listeners and audience and viewers, they have the power to do that as well. It's like you said, just taking one day at a time and keep the momentum going. Now, I want to pivot slightly because I know this is important to us with faith, family, and leadership. You're described as responsible, honorable, and family first. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yes, sir.
How do you bring those values into business decisions when things get really hard in tough seasons of life?
So I know with my faith, my higher power, Jesus, has been with me over all the years, even through my mishaps and all that stuff. He's always led me in the right direction if I allowed him to. As a family man, I have failed multiple times over the seasons and the years, not being there for my kids, not being there for my wife when I should have been. And I could look back and I could see them things. The change I'm implementing now is to try to be there more for my family. My wife loves like little things like the dishes being done at night, the bed being made in the morning, them little things. And I'm trying to teach my 3-year-old, like, hey, let's go make the bed for mom. It's just them little things like that of being of service to others, not just business wise. I want to try to do this at home also. She wasn't feeling good last week. There was one night, which this probably hasn't happened. Sean's been married. She wasn't feeling good. And I said, it was like 7:30. I said, hey, give me the boys. You go lay down. She's like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, no, we'll go out and back and goof off. And then just those being of service to her, to show her that I'm not just trying to change at work. I'm trying to bring this into our home also.
I love that, man. And so it sounds like her her love languages, because there's 5 love languages, is acts of service.
She likes that one. She likes to give. Yeah. She likes that bro.
What's your top 2 love languages, Jeremy? Do you know?
Words of affirmation. Okay. I really like the praises. And then probably gifts, meaningful gifts. And like my little thing, write me a love note and tell me thank you. It means more to me than, a new toy for outside.
Yeah. Well, for all of our viewers on YouTube, I know you're seeing Jeremy right now. Hey, Jeremy, by the way, man, you got the really nice haircut. Your beard's looking good today. The collar's looking good.
Thank you, sir.
Looking sharp, brother.
I was trying to. Look, it got me blushing over here, Sean.
Well, that's funny because I resonate with that. A lot of men are. I'm words of affirmation as well. My second one is quality time, though. I love quality time.
Good deal.
So for all of our listeners and viewers, I highly recommend it, especially with our spouses, and because I love to tap into this and just spend a minute or two on it. How pivotal and important has having the support of your wife been for you growing Air Woodlands? I'm curious on your insights on that, on having that support from your wife, on building this business and legacy.
So, Sean, we wouldn't be where we are. You know a little bit about my past and my story. I was married for 13 years before. A lot of bad issues going on through that marriage, drug addiction, alcoholism, several things. And I thought that was normal. This is okay to come home and be this way to your wife and to your kids, all that stuff. God made a major change in 2016 with me. And I met Angela and I married her in 2018. I met her in 2017. And the beginning of 2017, I married her in 2018. What I will tell you about Angela is, though, like, she's a good woman. She loved my two kids when I got custody of them. When I told her, like, hey, I want to buy this business 13 days before our wedding, and I'm going to clear out our bank account. And she said, I'll support you, and just those things. She's always stood by my side. My ex wasn't like that. It was like the positive and negative effect. If I said, let's try this, she said, it's going to do this. Angela's my mate. She's my partner. We pick each other and we give each other a hard time. But I know that she's my God-given woman.
Mm-hmm. She's going to listen to this podcast.
I hope so. I might just take that little piece out, Sean. Can you send me that
brownie point? It's going to be a clip, brownie points. No, I can hear the conviction in your voice. And the reason I bring that up is because that's so powerful. We're so big on that at Level Up and Live because I've had so many friends that are entrepreneurs and business owners over the years. And they've built a successful, thriving business, millions of dollars. But everything else has been neglected. The kids, the wife, the health, the relationships. And to a certain degree, man, that was me for 8 years. And that is what I'm fighting against. You can have all this money in the bank, but if you're not a kind person, if you don't honor, and have that love and that kindness and that humility, being a child of God and who God has called us to be, then what's the point? And when I hear you share that about Angela and how she's supported you in your business, I agree with you 1,000%. And if that's not the case for our viewers and listeners right now, then I would encourage you and empower you to be intentional about doing something about it, finding out the love languages, it really comes down to intentionality behind it. And what I've learned, when I wasn't intentional, that's when everything else got neglected. We're going to have different sacrifices where there's going to be sacrifices that are going to happen. But what I've learned is being aware of those sacrifices and making sure that that's where time blocking comes in. That's where time management comes in, making sure when we're on the podcast, I'm talking to Jeremy Laurence. I'm not on the phone right now. I'm not doing 15 other things. I'm here, brother. I'm with you. And I think sometimes we get away from that. And I would just encourage anybody to revisit that, and time block, be present, whatever it is that you're doing, and be all in, be all there. I know that's been a game changer for me. Now, you'd mentioned kids. Go ahead. You want to share something?
Real quick. And if you're on here and you're listening, I'm not 100% time blocker yet. Me and my wife have kicked around the idea, but I know little changes make big, monuments.
Yes.
I started putting down my phone every night around 7:30, 8 o'clock on my nightstand in another room, and I try to be there. Just in little things. I noticed it right after I joined the Level Up and Live group. Somebody else was talking about it. And my 3-year-old sat on my lap and was like, Daddy, read a book to me. Daddy, read a book to me. And Sean, I was in that famous pose that we love being in.
Yeah. Yep.
Daddy, read a book to me. And I'm just ignoring my son, and going back to my wife, she's not an ignorer. They could say mommy and she's right there. And I could see the look on her face, like, that could be quality time that my 3-year-old could have had. And that's when I made
Yeah.
that change, and I'm not perfect at it yet, but I try to do it every night. I try to put my phone down. And I even changed my voicemail. Like, hey, if this is an emergency, reach out through the office line. But I put my phone down at night, because what I've learned is they need me just as much as my business needs me. Actually need me more.
Agreed, man. And speaking of kids, what do you want your kids to learn from watching you lead in your business and even in your personal life and a lot of these things that you're working on and build this business? What do you want your kids to learn from watching you?
So I really want my kids to know, like, to my children, ones are 19 and 20 now. So they saw the old dad or Jeremy or whatever. Yeah. The new ones have never experienced that. And I hope they never have to experience that. God will, it never happens again. But I want them to know if there is mistakes, you can always turn your life around. That you don't have to live in that pity of, oh, poor, pitiful me, look at me. You could change your life. If you change the road, you could change the course,
Brilliant advice. 1000% agreed. What advice would you give an entrepreneur listening to this right now? Business owner, Jeremy Laurence, listening to this years ago, just starting out in business, who's in that messy middle, who's in a tough season of life, working long hours, facing doubt, imposter syndrome, and wondering, is this freaking worth it, man? What advice would you give that person?
To keep pushing if this is where your heart is. I see so many people do things that is not where their heart is or not what they want to be doing. I love the air conditioning heating business. I have passion for it. I love coming in and transforming situations. Several months ago, we had a job where we went in and the guy wanted more room in his attic because it looked like an octopus in there with all his ductwork and everything. We came in, we re-plywooded his attic, moved his units, do all that stuff. We could do whatever you want for the price tag. Whatever you're willing to pay for.
That's right.
This guy was okay paying for it. So, but I also realized is know your value. I really don't negotiate no more. Here's my price, take it or leave it. Yes, we run specials for our consumers, and yes, you could buy into one of our service contracts, become one of our members, and get discounts. But I'm not gonna compete with Chuck in a truck or the non-license holder or the guy with no office. If you want a reliable, honest business, you could call us. And so if you're new, put all them things in motion. I was in a class one time, a sales course. And the guy said, just because you don't have the office doesn't mean you shouldn't be charging your honest rate. And I was like, we went home that day and we raised all of our prices because it was where we were always way under everybody, And so that's what I realized, know your worth and do it. I mean, if this is where your heart is, chase your dreams.
Well, Jeremy, thank you for sharing and opening up today, brother. I really appreciate you sharing your story. Your journey is definitely proof that leadership is more than just keeping the AC running. It's about integrity, faith, and serving people with excellence. Appreciate you saying yes to the show today, leaning in, sharing your story, and being vulnerable, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Sean, can I bring up one more thing on here? Also, you said about community and giving back and all that stuff. That's what we are at Air Woodlands. We are giving away a free air conditioning system. No strings attached. It's a resident of Montgomery County, somebody in our community. They have grown our business for us. They have been there and stuck through us. So, I mean, if you know anybody or anybody's listening and they need somebody, doesn't matter the reason. If they want to nominate somebody, we have a link. You can fill out the form. We will be picking with our marketing firm and we'll be installing a brand new air conditioning system free of charge just to give back to the community.
Love that, man. And we'll have the link in the show notes so they can make sure that they stay in the loop and contact for that. Highly recommend. Outside of that, man, you've been nothing but valuable today for the Level Up and Live community. Is there anything else we can do to help support you, Jeremy?
I mean, word of mouth is our number one business. We do have, you saw my reviews before. We do have almost 500 reviews. Most of them are 5 stars. There is some people that we've learned we just can't make everybody happy. Our perception and ours did not line up with what they saw us performing or whatever you want to say. But we try to be honest and fair and integrity with everyone. And so, I mean, like us, follow us, be there for us. If you know somebody needs an AC company, give us a call. We'd love to help.
Awesome. Well, to all of our listeners and viewers, I want you to take one lesson from Jeremy. Maybe it's how he leaned in on values during transition or how he keeps his family first, his faith, and in the 24/7 our industry. Apply it this week in your own business. Take that one step. We'll also drop the links in the show notes so you can connect with Jeremy and Air Woodlands. If you got value from this episode, share this episode with a friend, a fellow business owner. Leave a review and subscribe so more leaders can hear stories like Jeremy's. Until next time, stay on mission, live with purpose, and keep leveling up without losing yourself. Thanks again, Jeremy.
Thanks, Sean.